That's straight up vile. Elephants are endangered. Come on, man. Go for, like, roaches or something. Honestly, he's kinda a jerk to all wildlife, capturing pretty much anything he can get his hands on in pretty cruel fashion. I mean, he tears this cheetah cub out of the metaphorical paws of its mother and out of the literal hands of a little girl. That's pretty, Blackburn has a knife, which, hey, I mean, is a lot worse than some of the others on this list. He's proven to have decent aim, considering he shoots a rhinoceros, he's got a helicopter, and also a bunch of explosives he uses to herd rhinos into a giant electric fence to kill thousands at once. He also kidnapped and threatened to kill multiple children, even chucking a girl from a helicopter into a waterfall. I guess we shouldn't have expected anything less from someone with such an evil last name like Blackburn, huh? So, yeah, this guy definitely has some spunk when it comes to villainy. I'm gonna put him in B tier. Let's move on. Alright, here's the one you've all probably been waiting for. Time to look at some nautical nonsense with SpongeBob SquarePants. And yeah, we all know who we have to look at. Good old Sheldon J. Plankton. Here's the deal with Plankton. There's a lot of different ways we can look at him. He's a super genius with a dastardly personality, but he's mainly hell-bent on stealing a burger. He had to make a wife out of a computer, and he's also one of the smallest sea creatures you can find, being routinely stepped on and bullied by all the other bikini bottomites. He's also got a lot of pros and cons, so let's just go ahead and take a look at some of his greatest feats and go from there. In his debut episode, he took control of SpongeBob's mind to make him yoink a Krabby Patty. Pretty scummy. He imitates people on multiple occasions, usually getting whoever he's disguising himself as into some problems. At one point, he just takes SpongeBob's brain out of his body and places it into a robot to get him to do what he wants, which only gets more screwed up the more you think about it. But worst of all, in the first SpongeBob movie, he stole Neptune's crown, framed Mr. Krabs, and had him frozen, and then enslaved all of Bikini Bottom using, well, I guess his trademark, mind control. And then he created his own dystopian hellhole in the process. So, yeah, the little guy is a bigger threat than you'd ever imagine, all due to that big brain of his. Oh, he also had a Roman Colosseum and was going to have Patrick eaten by this sea lion. That's creatively messed up. So, yeah, I'm putting Plankton in B tier, though you can probably pretty easily just squish this guy. Sometimes even by accident. He's got a lot of technology that'll definitely put things up a few notches danger-wise. I mean, he conquered a town. That's the biggest thing anyone on this list has done so far. Now, we're not actually quite done with SpongeBob yet, as I have two smaller villains I want to look at. First up is Man Ray, one of Mermaid Man's arch-enemies. Now, typically Mermaid Man's enemies are pretty easily defeated by the elderly hero. I mean, the dirty bubble is a bubble, so you can just pop it. Barnacle Man can be vanquished if you buy him an adult meal instead of a kid's meal, but Man Ray is different. On one occasion in particular, thanks to a little bit of shenanigans with time travel, Man Ray defeats the heroes and takes over Bikini Bottom in very similar fashion to Plankton, except instead of using mind control, Man Ray uses pure brute force. Pretty gross looking city there too.
That giant menacing billboard is missing a bone on the bottom.
Yeesh. Still though, despite the city looking like a climate nightmare, Man Ray is going into A tier. He's above Plankton because, well, you can't really step on Man Ray. But we actually have one more character we've got to look at. Some of you will be very pleased to see me cover this. You see, in my weapon rankings vid, you guys very graciously pointed out that I forgot the magic pencil when discussing powerful weapons from SpongeBob.
What have I done?
And yeah, I guess I did. Sorry about that, folks. To make it up, I'm gonna go ahead and look at the guy who utilized it the most, Doodle Bob. Doodle Bob is a little bastard created by SpongeBob using this pencil that came from the surface, that when used underwater can create whatever the user wants. Doodle Bob is a little messed up though, as from the moment he's created, he goes on a crime spree, beating up Squidward and then dropping a wrench on Patrick. Later on, after being erased, which is admittedly one of Doodle Bob's biggest weaknesses, he comes back to life, draws himself once more, and then tries to erase SpongeBob, wrecking his house in the process. So yeah, the thing can also erase things from real life. That's powerful. Unfortunately for Doodle Bob, though, he's got to worry about more than just being erased. As if he's touched by paper, he's bound to it for the rest of his days, and becomes nothing more than the drawing he was always meant to be. Also, the pencil can break. Yeah, Doodle Bob is a menace, make no mistake about it, but he's also got some pretty big weaknesses, especially if he doesn't have that pencil. So yeah, with that in mind, I'm feeling a C tier placement here. Finally, there's Squidward.
Why do today what you can put off till tomorrow?
Squidward is just a lazy jerk. Nobody wants to be a Squidward. F tier. Next! Hope you have your backpacks, folks. It's time to look at Dora, because I feel she's too iconic to not cover here. For those of you who don't remember anything about the show, the main antagonist is this sneaky little fox in a blue bandit mask named Swiper. His main goal is to just steal whatever he can from Dora, Boots, and whoever else is joining her that day. Does he succeed? Sometimes, but not always. He's kinda easily swayed into not being mean if you just tell him to stop 3 times.
Swiper, don't swipe me! Swiper, don't swipe me! Swiper, don't swipe me! Oh, man! Thanks for helping us stop Swiper.
Is he a fox? Yes. Are foxes typically just seen as pests that can easily be dealt with by animal control? Yes. Because of this, am I just gonna put Swiper in F tier? Yes. Hopefully he doesn't have rabies, though. Next up is the Fairly Odd Parents. And while there are many villains to look at, I think I've got 3 basic ones to look at here. I'll go in order of how threatening they are. First up is Mr. Crocker, Timmy's teacher at school, and an avid believer in very good parents. He needs to catch them to prove his theory, but push comes to shove, he's not too confident at it, though he certainly does have a knack for technology which gives him points. I'll give him D tier. He still lives with his mom. Feels about right. Moving on quickly here. Next up, we have the anti-fairies, who live to cause problems. Literally, they're apparently the cause of all bad luck. Here's the deal. For every fairy on Fairy World, there's an evil fairy to counteract them. Cosmo, anti-Cosmo, Wanda, anti-Wanda, poof, foop. One issue. The anti-fairies technically can only do their work on Friday the 13th, and also can't counteract any of the normal fairy magic. I don't want to get too far into the inconsistent rules of this show for fairies. My head already hurts questioning why Foop is a cube with a goatee, but considering these guys are technically weaker than fairies and can only act on one day, they're going into C tier. Finally, we have Vicky, Timmy's horrible babysitter. She's got an obsession with torturing her least favorite twerp in insane ways behind his parents' back. She's got a real bad habit of trying to murder Timmy with an axe, which alone is putting her higher up on this list than many others. But give her some wish power too, and she's even more of a force to be reckoned with. Though wish power can only get you so far, right? You've got those pesky rules to deal with and all, no killing and such. Well, if fairy magic isn't up your alley, then how about a TV remote that lets you go into television itself? Doesn't sound like much, but Vicky actually manages to use it to take over the world, winning $1 million, and then meeting up with a bunch of dictators on Dictator Week on the Discovery Channel. Of course. Anywho, she meets up with dictators, teams up, gets an army of ninjas, and then, yeah, takes over.
Hold up.
I think that's ground for an A tier placement. She's cruel to children, cruel to the world, and has a murderous side.
See if I have everything I need to ensure the proper amount of quality child supervision.
Now we're looking at Invader Zim. And if you know anything about this show, you know we're talking about Zim himself.
Did you wash your ass today?
He's an alien who's secretly inhabiting Earth with the sacred goal of taking over the planet.
Without bringing any attention to myself.
Secretly. Being an alien, Zim is equipped with a lot of technology, such as